All right, this screencast is for our density review. And if you will look at your packet, the first page in your packet says Density Practice Problems. And in order for you to do density practice problems, we need to talk a little bit about what units you use for mass, what units you use for volume, and what units you are going to use for density. Okay? All right, so I've already written over here, mass is usually given in grams, sometimes in kilograms, but usually for our calculations for density, it'll be in grams. Volume of a substance, if it is a liquid or a gas, the volume will be in milliliters. If it is a solid, it's probably going to be in cubic centimeters. Okay? So make sure that you recognize those abbreviations. Okay? Now we're going to talk a little bit about density and what its units are. Okay, let's look real briefly at the equation for density. Density is equal to mass divided by volume. And if mass is given in grams, so the units for mass are grams, and the volume is milliliters, then our unit for density is going to be grams per milliliter. Or if you're talking about the density of a solid, you're going to have grams divided by cubic centimeters, and so your unit will be grams per cubic centimeter. Okay, so you have to keep both the mass unit and the volume unit when you calculate density, because density is mass divided by volume. Okay, so we've got the formulas for density, for mass, and for volume given to you. Density, as we've already talked about, density is mass divided by volume, or if I just use abbreviations, D equals M divided by V. Mass is density times volume, or M equals D times V, and volume equals mass divided by density, or V equals M over D. Okay? I think that is one of the first things that you need to do for your density practice problems on the front sheet for the worksheet. Okay, so now it's your turn to make sure that you have filled in the first part of this density practice problems. Density is in units of grams per milliliter or grams per cubic centimeter. The equation to find density is density equals mass divided by volume. Mass is in units of grams. The equation to find mass is density times volume. Volume is in units of milliliters or cubic centimeters. The equation to find volume is volume equals mass divided by density. All right, let's look at the first example. I'm going to do the first problem with you, and then you guys are responsible for doing the rest of them. Okay? All right, if you will look at your density practice problem sheet, it says in each of the following problems, put a red box around the density, put a blue box around the mass, and put a green box around the volume. Decide what you are being asked to find. Are you finding mass, volume, or density? Okay, first problem says ice has a density of 0.9 grams per cubic centimeter. If a block of ice has a volume of 2,000 cubic centimeters, what would be its mass? All right, so what are you finding? Well, it asks you, it says what would be its mass, or what would its mass be? So you are finding mass. That's what goes in that first box. What formula do you need? You need a formula to find mass. Okay, so let me show you what you're doing. Okay, so I have read the problem and I have looked. I've put a box that's red around density. I've put a green box around volume, and I have put a blue box around mass. And actually I circled the question mark with blue also because it was mass that we were looking for. What is the mass? Okay, what are you finding? Mass. What formula do you need? Mass equals density times volume. Okay, and then we're going to take the numbers from the problem and put them in the formula. Okay, so I have everything worked out, and this is kind of how I want you to do yours. You've got 3 more to do. Okay, I put under show your formula with the numbers substituted I put the formula still, but instead of D and V, I put in 0.9 grams per cubic centimeter for density, and I put in 2,000 cubic centimeters for volume. And then I did my actual math, my multiplication over here. No, you don't get to use a calculator because you don't get to use one in the spring on the STAR test. Okay, so do the math and then show me the answer. Since it is a mass, it needs to have the units grams on it. So 1,800 grams. And then I put a box around my answer so that I can find it. Okay, the rest of them are for you to do on your own, but that should give you a good start.